Well, welcome. My name is Melissa Sheehan, and I work with our Climate Hub Partnership Project. I'd like to introduce one of our educators, Julie Mattox, and she will kick off this session talking about Prairie Day.
Thank you, Melissa. Again, my name is Julie Mattox. I am a retired land surveyor, and I've been involved in a tall grass prairie restoration now for about 10 years. But what I love about this is some of the events that we have surrounded around this, and that is our Prairie Day that we hold once a year on the very last Saturday of September. Now, I'm going to walk you through our Prairie Day and how it works. It's not just an event, but it's an outreach and it's an educational model. I'll share how it comes together, what I've learned, and what might be useful in your own event or project. My goal today is to make the thinking behind Prairie Day visible to you so you can see the process, not just the end results. I'm going to explain why Prairie Day exists, how it is intentionally designed, what makes it work as an education model, and how you can adapt it to other approaches. When I first started doing outreach, I was mostly reaching prairie enthusiasts. I was actually just preaching to the choir. But Prairie Day was created to widen the circle and bring different groups into the same conversation around land stewardship. Now, this usually connects people who don't normally learn together. Land stewardship requires shared understanding. Grazing, fire, and prairie restoration are best learned on the land. Makes complex land management ideas more understandable, especially for families and first-time learners find welcoming entry points and interests that they are involved in. Builds trust and stewardship culture over time. And people start to care, or actually people start to feel that caring for the land is something that they do together, not just something they are told to do. Once I realized that I was no longer preaching to the choir, I became more intentional about who the event is for. Prairie Day brings together landowners, families, agencies, and educators, people who all influence the land, but don't usually learn in the same space. That will include your livestock producers, families and first-time learners, educators, agencies, conservation professionals, and community members curious about land stewardship. The timeline is what keeps Prairie Day working year after year. And if I rush it, things totally fall apart. Starting early gives relationships time to build, and that makes everything much easier. I actually start the day after Prairie Day. Every year I go back around to some of our speakers and the folks that have booths out there and ask them if they'd be willing to come the following year. And of course, almost everybody says they would love to be here. So 5 to 6 months out, I'm looking for my speakers. 4 to 5 months, I'm looking for my sponsors. And 2 to 3 months, actually about 2.5 months is good enough for promotion. And the final month, that's logistics and confirmations. Make sure you have all of your volunteers all lined up and what they will be doing. Now, who helps teach Prairie Day? I don't look for professional speakers. I look for people that are doing the actual work. I ask them to keep it conversational and grounded because people learn best when they can ask questions and connect it to real life. Make it comfortable with informal field-based learning and make sure you have a mix of agencies, landowners, NGOs, and nonprofits. And topics do matter. What Prairie Day does, it helps people see how these pieces connect. Things like pyrrhic how fire and grazing work together, the encroachment of eastern red cedars. They are the real challenges that landowners are dealing with right now. It helps people understand how land is actually managed and why these decisions matter. Fire, grazing, wildlife, and long-term land health. This is what they're learning. It helps people understand how the land is actually managed and, again, why these decisions all matter. It affects the forage, the wildlife, and the land health. Partners matter. Prairie Day works because it's not just owned by one person or one group. It brings together different perspectives and creates a space for conversations that don't normally happen around the same piece of ground. And how does Prairie Day get off the ground? Well, the sponsors, they do matter, but they don't make it possible. But they do help cover the basics so that we can focus, so our focus stays on learning and the community. Most of them are local and they care about this place. Now, logistics matter. If people are hot, hungry, or confused, they stop learning. They need to know where the bathroom is. They need to know where the shade is. Taking care of the basics, again, the shade, the food, the directions, that makes a big difference. When people are comfortable, they stay longer, and that's when the real conversations begin. Promotion and outreach. Well, how do people find Prairie Day? Every year I write a clear and simple save the date. I put a few posters located strategically in the community, do a few local newspapers and radio spots. But the big thing that gets people here is sharing through partners and friends. You know, we have the NRCS, the Audubon Society, the Native Prairie Association of Texas. These folks send it all out to their partners. So the word really does get out. And also word of mouth really helps. Now, some of the lessons that we're doing from that we're doing this year after year. The key thing is start earlier than you think. Keep it simple and flexible. People learn best when they can learn together, and relationships matter more than the agenda. Every year teaches me something new, but one thing keeps showing up. People learn best when we are all learning together. If the conversation is good, I let it happen, even if it means bending your schedule a little bit. If people are asking questions, maybe the next speaker has to start 5 to 10 minutes later, but it all works out very well. My hope is that you don't create Prairie Day, but you fit it to your event. It's that you take what fits in your place and your people and you make it your own. And I'd love to hear what stands out for you, what feels transferable, what you would adapt, and what challenges do you anticipate? Thank you very much.